Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tammy Pages. I am your host, Tammy Simmons. And in this episode, I will let you know behind the scenes how I got into writing, as well as how did my first book come about. So let's get into it. So, I've always loved to read since I was younger. I read so much that I used to get picked on for it. And I mean, I'm reading like the back of Doritos bags, everything, like anything I can get my hand on, I'm reading. And, um, but it wasn't until, we'll say, the eighth grade when my teacher, Mrs. Andrews, introduced me to free writing. And I just fell in love. Like, that was like my love for notebooks, everything. I'm just writing everything that I could. And her explanation for free writing, if someone may not know, it's just basically um, getting a pen and piece of paper and just writing how you feel. You're not editing it, you're not doing anything, you're just writing it out. And when I tell you, um, when I was introduced to that, I just like exploded. And that was just basically how my journey started. And I was like writing for years. I had like multiple notebooks. I just, kept them, and that was it. Until we'll fast forward through life, um, until around 2020. And I'm not sure how this whole process came about, but I know obviously it was God. So my first book is called Love and Relationships. Now, there is a backstory that I haven't really discussed with anyone, so I will let you know. So, around, we'll say possibly January of 2020, or maybe December of 2019, what happened was I was trying to get my daughter to sleep, and all of a sudden, this song is playing in my head, and it's like a middle of a song, so I don't really know where it's coming from. And so I'm figuring it out, and I'm like, oh, that's Jagged Edge, and it was Gotta Be, right? And so at the end of the day, I listened to the song. Cool, no big thing. I listened to the song. She went to sleep. That was it. But all of a sudden, their songs kept coming to me. And if I would try to ignore the song, it would play louder. And I'm like, what the heck? Until like I would get to the song. And I can't remember. I think it was Promise. And I was listening to it because basically I was moved by the Holy Spirit to listen to it. And when I listened to it, I was like, I started crying. And I was like, I want somebody to feel like this towards me. And lo and behold, I basically, it's like something hit me because up until that point, I was basically trying to recover from love and wasn't thinking about anything like that. And this was the first time. And I felt as though God used their music to help me heal from my broken heart. And I prayed to God to basically allow a blessing for them to come through me. And, I was praying it so hard because I realized that God used their music to help heal my heart, or at least give me the desire to love again. And so for months I was trying to, figure it out, figure out what to do or whatever, and just constantly praying to God. And one day, um, it hit me. I was listening to one of their songs, and I came up with this game called No Lip, No Debate. And I got the no lip part. It's just basically, basically not arguing back with your spouse. Just in case if they ask you to do something, you just do it type of thing. And then, but then I was listening to a Jagged Edge song, and I can't remember which song it was, but in the song, Brandon says something along the lines of, I believe it's Brandon, but basically no debate. And basically, that's how I put it together. And I created a game for couples. And I think I already started writing the book or something like that, but I didn't finish it. And so I was like, I had this whole game and everything, and the game was somewhat dedicated to Jagged Edge because, everything. And I was like, how can I put this out? And I remember I was in the kitchen. I was on the edge of, I have like a little ledge, so between my kitchen and my living room. And God kept saying in my head, finish the book, finish the book. He said it so loud, I started saying it out of my mouth. Write the book, finish the book, type of thing. And next thing you know, I finished the book, and the book came out July 2020. I believe it was July 17th, 2020. And then by September, I was actually on the phone with Jagged Edge. They had a podcast, and by the grace of God, so I just tell you guys the whole story. The week before, the 17th, they used to have a podcast. Sorry, they used to have a podcast around 2020, and I remember the week before the 17th, I got on. No, I listened to their podcast the week before. Sorry, um, so it had to be September 10th, I believe, and after I listened to their podcast, God said, you're going to call in next week and you're going to talk to them. And I'm like, oh my God. So for a whole week, I'm sitting up there and I am like, you know what I mean? Like, I have anxiety. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to call in here and all this other stuff. And so what ends up happening is the next week comes, so it's September 17th at this time, and I call in there. I call in there, but the thing about it is, because they had it on, I think it was Station Head or something like that. So they had their own little radio podcast type of thing where they can listen to music and all that. So anyway, but the connection was horrible because they had a storm in Atlanta. So end of the day, I get through and I'm thinking that they're gonna call me, and the next thing I know, it drops. And so I get kicked out. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I try it again. And that, like, soon, like, I try it as fast as possible. And lo and behold, I get through. And I talk to them. And I tell them about the game and everything. And I was able to send them the game and all of that stuff. So if you want to know how I got into writing, how I got my first book and all that other stuff, that's basically how. Um, Jagged Edge has been very instrumental in my life, even from there. Like, God used Jagged Edge to even pivot my life, not just for me loving again, but it was even the point of me writing a book. I was not a writer before that happened. Well, as far as writing books, like I told my teachers I wanted to write books or whatever, but God used them to pivot my life. So, like I said, not only just for loving again, but also for me being an author. And I was able to tell one of the members that, but yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys, so you guys have a little background of who I am and everything like that. So I hope this encouraged you or anything. If you have any questions, um, you can, I think you can make comments on some of these platforms and I'll be able to see them. But if not, I do have a website which is called the Tammy Pages, and I am on all social media platforms. So if this has encouraged you or anything, feel free. Um, and you can just comment, message me, or whatever, and I will see that and I will comment to you back. So until next time, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening to this podcast, especially if you made it this far. Until next time, bye.